welcome back to the 12th Man podcast. Right hand man's here as usual. And the Premier League got underway at the weekend. It's kind of business as usual from most clubs. Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United all winning. Spurs held a draw at Leicester. Villa winning away at West Ham. Newcastle, 10 men, managed to get through Southampton.
That was
And some
embarrassing,
more
by the way.
results. What's that?
That Brereton Diaz, that was embarrassing.
I'm sure we'll speak about it when we look at the PL review. We're going to first start looking at Stamford Bridge, the problems around Chelsea. We'll speak about their loss against Man City.
Every
We'll look at
podcast you do at this point, we should just have a section for Chelsea.
Chelsea. No, it just doesn't stop at Chelsea. And a lot of problems there at the moment, which we'll speak about. We'll look at all the rest of the weekend's results, as we said, and we'll also look at the transfers that are happening, the talks that are taking place. Of course, the transfer window closes 9 days time. If Liverpool are still sitting here 9 days time with a player at this time, Owen will be very nervous. But we'll ask Owen about that soon.
We will have a player. He just won't be our player until next year.
Liverpool very close to a signing. And we'll speak about that. But only one place to start, and it is at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea, well, I mean, I don't think they played overly bad. They didn't play well, but Man City, it was comfortable for them. And a Chelsea team of the past, you can't expect them to rattle Man City, and I didn't really think that happened at any stage. It was a very comfortable game for Man City. And I suppose Chelsea won. The back, they want to be the team that are winning titles, competing for Champions Leagues. Man City have won 4 in a row. Chelsea is 2 years under this Ted Bowley and Bengali cycle of the structure of the club. And, I mean, they couldn't be further away from Man City at the moment, could they?
No, like, as you say, in terms of the actual match, they didn't play that badly. It's just, I thought, to be fair, which annoyed me, I thought Lavia was very good. So that sort of stings a wee bit because of what could have been there. But in terms of, like, Nicholas Jackson, for that chance he scored, was about 10 yards offside. I don't know what
same problem as last year. He couldn't stay on side.
I know all about that. And I just again I thought it was very strange the way they made Enzo captain with everything that went on in the summer, and he was awful on Sunday. Like they were playing him at a number 10, and they dropped him back. They dropped him back deeper, and I think especially for the Kovacic goal, like. Did you see it? Him and Caicedo just stopped running. Like they just like.
The irony is that Kovacic was one of the players pushed out the door to this new regime, and I mean Kovacic was walking to that Chelsea midfield, and
they just did. And the keeper as well. They've signed about 17 keepers, and the one that started on Sunday isn't great. So, like we've said this now this is going into the third year saying this. Like I just don't know what the plan is. They signed João Felix today for 60 million. Who they had on loan, was it last season or the year before? And he didn't pop any trees in, and then they go and spend 60 million. I don't understand it.
Yeah, Darren saying Kovacic ran the show, and he did. I thought he was the best player on the pitch. He was outstanding. Seemed to be got better at Man City as well, even though he's better on the ball.
I wonder will he start now though with the news of Gundogan possibly coming back.
That's that. We'll talk about some of those transfers that are happening very shortly. I suppose they cut Chelsea a bit of slack, not the actual club, but the players. Do you think it's very difficult for the players? They block out the negativity around the club. Everyone's criticising them. Not so much the players are getting criticism, but a lot of criticism coming towards the owners.
The manager hasn't covered himself in glory today either.
No, he hasn't. And we'll speak about that as well. But I mean, you think it's very difficult for these players to perform under such pressure from the media? The fans are still expecting Chelsea. Although a lot of these players, someone we don't know, you look at that. You look at Fernandes, Caicedo, Lavia, and Kunku, Cole Palmer, some really top players in there, and other than Palmer, last year, none of these players have. I know a few of them have been injured, but a lot of the signings haven't worked out, and that can't be a coincidence.
No, and you seen too that there was a thing on Facebook that I seen. Todd Bowley left just before the end, and someone put up he's already signed 7 more players now, and that's the thing. There's no stability at Chelsea. Like if you have a bad season or a bad 2 seasons, as we've seen with Sterling. Now I did think his statement was a bit weird. He has a tendency to do that. He's a strange character, but I think like if you have a bad season, you're out the door. We've seen today. I think they're selling. Is it Badia Shield or disaster. Newcastle, one of them two. And they signed them for like 40, 50 million now. So I honestly
Yeah,
like.
the plan was they buy these players, turn them into even better players, and sell them on for big profits. But the problem they've got at the minute is a lot of these players are underperforming, and they're leaving for less than what they're probably bought for, and that's the issue.
And they're not going to want to leave either. They're on like 8, 9 year contracts on probably what some of them on 60, 70 grand a week.
Well,
But
I seen a stat going last night. Believe it or not, right? The many years teams have of
I,
contract left.
I seen that
Spurs
Chelsea's
are
like eight.
second.
Chelsea's
Spurs
like
are
100 or
second
something.
with 97, and Chelsea are first with 196. So they have
I
99 years worth of contracts over Spurs here in second. I think Liverpool are maybe an our club Arsenal, maybe third on 95. So I think from second down is very tight in like a couple of years separate them, whereas Chelsea are like the anomaly, nearly 100 years difference.
That's scary, and they're gonna sign more players before the windows. They're gonna sign more players before the windows out, and I think the treatment of I don't know about Sterling because I think, as I say, I think he's a bit of a he's done it at Liverpool before, but I think the treatment of Trevor Chalwell and Conor Gallagher is awful. Like
Yeah, well, we'll speak about that as well. But you mentioned that there one about the manager. It was T- Tuchel didn't last very long. It was clearly wanted to go a different way under this new ownership. They brought Potter in. Lampard was a stopgap. Then they went to Pochettino, and now they've gone to Maresca. And I think Maresca, out of all of those managers, maybe apart from maybe Lampard, I know he was only a stopgap, but if you look at the three permanent managers
no, he's a
in
yes man. He can.
Potter and Pochettino and then Maresca's the least experienced of them all.
He's a yes man,
So
but I just think he's going to say, "I
well,
whatever."
he is. Well, but I mean, I mean, if Jurgen Klopp or Pep on there, do you think they will be having the same kind of struggles that these managers have had? Because there's a mountain of problems there, and it's not easy to manage under these circumstances.
That's the thing. Like I think you're using them too as an example. I think they would just look at it and say, "Nah, it's a circus." Like you seen the Monday Night Football. Jamie Carragher literally came out and said, "Why are players signing for Chelsea and why are managers going to Chelsea? Because it's a pardon me French, but it's a shit show. Like it's very poor, and I can't see it. I can't see it improving anytime soon. But when you're speaking of tall bully, he's like a Wayne in a candy shop. Like he just wants to spend and spend.
Yeah, that's that though. I have to say that I think Maresca has been really hard done by
He
with
didn't
some
he
of the
didn't help
decisions that have
himself
been
today
made
though.
above his head over the summer because
Yeah.
a lot of these decisions are his.
But he didn't help himself today either. In the media, he says, "I'm not working with I'm only working with 20 players. I don't want to work with four." But then the owners are signing all these players, so I don't get the plan at Chelsea. Like because in my personal opinion, and I think it's yours, I don't think Maresca lasts long. Like I don't know if he'll be the first sack. That's my prediction, but I think it'll be close. It'll be a close run there. I think.
But and that's fine, right? But where do they go then? Because they still have the problems that Maresca has now. And I mean, you mentioned it as well that the treatment of the players. Whatever your thoughts are about Sterling, He's got 3 more years left on his contract.
On big
He's
wages.
a former England international of pedigree on big wages. He in any line of work, if you have a contract, you at the end of the day, if they say to him you're surplus to requirements, it's up to them to either sort a situation out for him or
Yeah.
pay him up. And they pay him up a cost about £70 million. So you mentioned that with Conor Gallagher, Chalaba forced to train with the reserves. This is a really, really dangerous road they're going down because Sterling could quite easily put his feet up and say, "Do you know what? I'm happy here. I'll stay."
I then like to be honest, if I was in that situation, that's what I would do because I know he probably wants to go play football, but if someone's paying you that much, like I would be like, you know what, it's your fault. You gave me this big wage, so you're going to continue to pay me. But that's the thing. We know Gallagher's off the or I was going to say Real Madrid. There have they some move. We know Gallagher's off the Atletico Madrid. So, but the problem is with Sterling. Where does he go? Like he doesn't go to any of the top six Premier League teams. Liverpool wouldn't take him back. Like, and Man City wouldn't take him back. Arsenal don't need him. So where does he go? His next step is probably Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. And Sterling is one of, as you said, over 40 players on the books. Maresca says he wants to work with 28, no more. And technically, you can't work anymore 28. You can only register 28 players in the league, and I think maybe 25 in Europe. So, they've got 18, 19 players there that are, not going to be legally, they won't be able to use them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of it, it's not Maresca's problem to sort this out. He's come on as a manager to manage a squad of players. He doesn't have to find those solutions for these or 18 or 19 players. And let's be honest, we 8 or 9 days to go. It's going to be very difficult to shift nearly 20 players. So your gut feeling is Gallagher's going today. Lukaku will probably go. Broja over here's going on loan, but Chalaba will someone open up for him. And we're also hearing that if some certain players leave, they're going to replace them. So there's
Ben
actually more
Chilwell,
players coming in.
Ben Chilwell's another one that they want rid of.
Ben Chilwell. So it's going to be very difficult. And they're all, as you said, huge wages. So they're going to either have to pay them off or find a club that'll be prepared to pay them kind of wages. And as you say, I don't see any of the top clubs taking Chelsea's dead wood. So, I mean, this is a really, I mean, could they end up being the first big club? There's been clubs, but like the first ever, established Premier League club to go bust, because there's only so much more money you can pump on before you go, this is not working, and we're because I think Graham Souness says in Talk Sport, the Sterling situation, you could multiply that by 10 or 12 times now in the next year, because there's so many players there now that they've stripped Sterling of his squad number, so there's no way back for Sterling in terms of getting under the squad. So it's either pay him up or find a club, and I don't see. Apparently, he said today wants to stay in the Premier League if he goes anywhere. So it's going to be very difficult to find a club for him unless they pay him up and he goes on a free transfer.
That's the only way you could probably see it. But I can't see them. I can't see them going bust. Although that would be hilarious, because it's just, and I don't know if there's any Chelsea fans watching, but the way your club's run the minute, it's just mental. I know I hammer FSG for a lot of things, but if they were doing this with Liverpool, no matter how many players there's, I would be concerned. Like I said this last year. Like it's going to go up in smoke. I said it in my very first podcast. They're saying, oh, it's great, we're signing all these players, but what if it doesn't work? And it hasn't worked with 20, 30 players. So
this is the thing, right? How long, it's like that saying, right? You keep doing the same things and expecting different results. It's insanity. And this summer, I think the team got worse.
Leaf for that book. It's I don't know what they're going to do. Like I don't know if the fans would protest against bullying, but does he really care what the fans think? I just think, I said it last time I was on here, Chelsea's just like a money laundering scheme. Like it is. Like I don't think.
Well, that's how long do you give it before you say we need to try something different? Because this summer I thought they might have done something slightly different, but I think it's got worse. They signed even more unknown players for big money. I mean, they signed the player for Boca Juniors to play 3 games for 30 million. Yeah. It's
that's what I mean too. Like as much as I hammer Man City about their issues off the field, how's no one investigating Chelsea? How is this not?
What I can understand now is where's the logic on this now? I just don't think that this is what makes them think that it's going to get any better doing this. I don't know, but suppose before we finish off about Chelsea, I know I kind of mentioned it in the last question, but there is only so long this can go on before somebody pulls the plug on it, because you're not just going to see a failed business plan and keep pouring more and more and more on. And if these boys was to walk away, all of a sudden that's where you would worry for Chelsea. And no, I'm no Chelsea fan, but if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be really, because Abramovich, as there was a lot of money spent, but there was a thought process behind it. They did buy world class players or top class players, and this is completely different.
This is just like you're saying they bought a boy from Boca Juniors for 30 million. Will he ever play for Chelsea? I highly doubt it. It's mad. But how long will it be? What is this their 3rd year now? I mean, I seen a thing on Facebook the other day. Like they won the Champions League 3 years ago, and no one in their starting 11 started the season. That's mental. It's like, but I think at some point you'll have to change it, because if Chelsea don't finish in the top 4 this season, that's their third year of the Champions League, and their fans won't accept that because they're used to winning things. And
I don't think they've got a hope of top 4. Honestly, I think I think they could be really struggling to make Europe.
According to Gary Neville and all his infinite wisdom, he put them on the top 4 Monday night, which I find laughable. But I think it's going to be a big year on and off the pitch for Chelsea. That's for sure.
I think with the Sterling situation, they're going to have to pay him up next week if they don't keep, because there's
Yeah,
at the
they're
end of the day,
definitely
they're going to have to pay his wages anyway
yeah,
over
they're
a
going
certain
to
period. So they owe him that 70 million, where they pay him up now
yeah,
or pay it over 3 years. Maybe they even pay him off on a weekly salary. But
yeah,
there's no
they're going to
value to Sterling sitting around there if they're not
yeah,
going to use him.
they're going to run out of Sterling one way or another.
Well,
But
that's it. I seen the preseason like a video thing, and there was like they were doing gym work, and there was like players waiting to use a machine. It was that bad.
I
There
see
wasn't
that
enough machines for the players to use at the one time, which was crazy.
they'll have to open like a 2-3 more training grounds.
Well,
No,
Maresca says that they were doing that. This is a lead up to Man City game. That usually this is what a lot of teams would do. They would do it's kind of the week the session before the match, the last game. They would
yeah,
do a bit of analysis, but they'd also do like a 11v11 game just to work on shape and attacking, defending. And he had 22 playing and over 20 watching it, and then they couldn't even have an hour 11v11 on an hour pitch because there wasn't enough coaches.
that's crazy. For you would expect that at like an amateur team like.
Well, it's like a D&D team turning up and there's not enough coaches. They all the players because there's so many turned
That's
up
what
in
I
a
mean.
session.
I expect like not for a big club like Chelsea, but um, it's a hard one. But as I say, I think it's going to be a big year on and off the pitch because I do sort of agree. I do think it'll run its course eventually, and the owners will get fed up, or the fans will drive them out one way or another.
Do you think they'll be just trying to desperate to sell now in the next week just to try and get players out the door for anything they can get? Just sell them on.
They have to, even as you say, if they just pay them off and take a hit, because who's going to come on now for what?
The,
Trevor
the,
Child,
the problem they've got as well is a lot of the clubs are saying to them, for us to buy one of your players, we need you to buy one of ours because the PSR, like Atletico, were refusing to buy Conor Gallagher unless they took a player off them because
yeah,
João Felix wasn't really a target. They wanted somebody else at Atletico. That didn't work out, so they just says, fuck it,
that's
we'll buy Felix. And
that's
that's
an
a
odd,
crazy way of going about it.
that's another weird one. Where does he play? David Kunku, Palmer.
Well, there's rumors that uh, for them to buy Lukaku, Napoli, they're going to have to sell Osimhen to Chelsea. And again, so that's an hour player in for an hour player. So it's
Uh,
not really helping the numbers game. It's getting rid of players, but more players are coming through the door.
it's they're as I said, they're a bit of a mess, aren't they? And I don't know what these owners are at, to be honest. But thankfully, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I don't have to worry about it.
How long do you think Maresca will last them?
I'll say just after Christmas.
Just after Christmas. Right, let's look at the rest of the Premier League games. We'll stay with this game, actually, because we haven't spoken about Man City, who were very it wasn't like advantage Man City. It was more workmanlike, but they impressed at different times. I thought Silvino caught the eye. Very talented, reminds me of Mahrez, the way he plays, even wearing the same shirt number.
He's injured,
Kovacic is
man.
very impressive. And City really, Haaland does what he does. Probably we'll speak about a team that are lacking a bit of ruthlessness up front, that they kill games off at the weekend very shortly. But Man City have that with Haaland, and he put Haaland into the team I'm talking about, and our team probably wins the game this weekend. But
I
Haaland
think we
is a
both know
different
what,
player, isn't
what
he?
game you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like when he I read a stat that was his 90th goal for Man City already. Like,
And
or
it wasn't
something.
easy. I mean, it
No,
wasn't not far from easy.
it's like when people be all, oh, Haaland scored. It's like he's going to score goals. Like that's what he is. And I seen his interview after the game. He said he wants to become a better player, which is scary but he's not. He's not good. He's not good at all he is good, but
Yeah, you
he's
have
not.
to brush up on that part of his game. He's technical, sort of. Holding the ball up, playing off people,
If he gets
opening chances
if
for
he
our
can
players. I know what you mean.
if he can get that sorted, then he's going to be definitely scary. But I've said it. I definitely think I can't see him staying at City after the season. To be honest, I think because his father said that his father said he only wants to be at a club for like 3-4 years and move on. And depending on what happens with Man City off a pitch, a lot of players might jump,
Yeah,
but we'll see. But in terms of
Real
this
Madrid
game,
surely can't take an hour big star, can they?
no. Uh, well, they drew with Mallorca the other night, so it hasn't worked out yet. But in terms of this game, it wasn't the greatest spectacle, like. But Man City it was more like a training match, really, with them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Chelsea had a few counter attacks and a few chances, but once City went 1-0 up, you knew they weren't going to let Chelsea back into the game. And as I spoke about there, I thought Kovacic was the best player on the pitch. And I thought for his goal, particularly, the Chelsea were pathetic, especially Enzo and Caicedo. They just stopped running, and I thought Enzo was crying all match. Like
Yeah.
if he didn't get the ball, he was throwing his arms up at teammates, and I wouldn't. And
I
has
wonder how long he's got there. If it doesn't happen this year, he could be one of the players on the chopping block next year.
again, but they're not going to get 100 million, 120 million, whatever they paid for.
Yeah, that is the worry.
No.
You says to me, there's no point in the podcast this season because the league's already won. He's sticking by that Man City doesn't matter. They're gonna win it again.
Yep. Well, depends what happens with their court case.
Well, that's it.
They could be relegated by Christmas.
Yeah, that's it.
It started.
Sorry,
I think it started it starts next month or something, doesn't it?
Starts very short now, but we're probably not going to hear anything after Christmas at least. Apparently, Arsenal, seen as the most likely contenders, they beat Man City at the title. Obviously very close to the last couple of years. Very close last year. They started with a decent one against Wolves. Didn't see all of this game. I think from what I heard, first half Arsenal were very good. Second half Wolves gave them a few scares, and Arsenal got the second goal at the right time and took the sting out of the game. And I suppose Arsenal starting maybe the way they did last year, very workmanlike, and they'll be looking to use like Man City did last year, and they did. They peaked after Christmas. They went on a great run. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't get Man City were just relentless in that running. And Arsenal had that one slip up against Villa. But kind of starting, they played Forest last year and they won 2-1. It wasn't brilliant to watch, but they got the one, and they'll just be happy to get off to a one start.
That's it. You have to keep up with Man City for as long as you can to give yourself a chance. And I seen before we came on that they're closing in on signing Marino, so it looks like he's coming through the door. So that's that position sorted for them. But I seen a wee bit of this game. I thought the first goal, the Havertz header was a brilliant header, and Saka had a great game as well. So he started the season well. But
Saka going the very same way Salah's going on it. That's you kind of feel when he cuts on that left foot in the back of the net.
You just know, but I thought Thomas Partey had a great game. He was given man of the match by whoever was doing the commentary, but he looked to be assured. But and them opening game fixtures, like they can be tricky, so it's sort of getting that out of the way and getting the 3 points, and that's what they did. And they'll want to kick on now next week.
Yeah, if Man City, if anything happens in Man City, you think Arsenal or Certs?
Probably at this point, if Man City get charged, I think Arsenal will take advantage.
Yeah, a team in everybody's top four got off their one start as well. The 12:30 kickoff wasn't the best opening hour for Liverpool, but once they got that first goal, they really kicked on. And I suppose we'll speak about the Spurs game, but the Ipswich got an opening in the Premier League. They had a couple of half chances in the first half, didn't take them, and Liverpool punish you, and they're ruthless Liverpool at times, and they showed that with Salah and Jota at the weekend.
As you say, like the first half, we were off it. We weren't good at all. I don't know what Slot did at halftime. Well, he took off Kwanzaa, which I said, it's brutal, but hey, if you're not playing well and the manager doesn't think you're playing well, you're not going to play.
Do they need to say that though to the media?
Probably not, but we're so used to Klopp being like, oh no, it was this and this, and I was so refreshed that he actually made a sub at halftime and made his subs early, because Klopp usually made his subs at the 60th, 70th minute, which was frustrating at times. But I think in that second half we dominated Ipswich, and
Trent showed why that Liverpool should get that contract out, didn't they?
Oh, he was majestic. That pass for Jota, they passed it. They saw they slipped on Jota. I was peak Trent, but
do you think the first half Liverpool were struggling to get the grips with the system they were employing? And they did a piece of Monday Night Football. Robertson was doing some unusual things, and you can only think that was coming from the coach because it wasn't natural what he was doing. Do you think Slot maybe thought, let's just keep it simple, second half, move the ball quick, and we'll steamroll Ipswich, and that's kind of what happened?
I think it was a bit of both. I think Ipswich started the game well, and I think we what you do, as you know yourself, with Spurs on Monday night. That was like it was it was hard for Spurs as well in the second half. So it was sort of reverse for us. We started the second half better, and thankfully we got the win because it could have been a banana skin.
Yeah, that's it. United wasn't the best opening game I've ever seen in the Premier League season. Both teams didn't really set the world on fire, but United were the ones in the end that got the one. A brilliant finish from new signing Joshua Zirkzee. And I suppose, we're going to talk about a striker that didn't score on his debut very shortly, but that's a big bonus for Zirkzee to get off to get a big goal off the flyer, because a lot of United players have struggled when they've made that move. And I suppose, let's not get carried away. Anthony done the same against Arsenal a couple of years ago, and we know how that turned out, but he looks like a real decent player. Sorry?
It took Colin like a year and a half, half of the year to score. I'm not going to lie and say I know much about Zirkzee, to be honest. I haven't seen much of him play, to be honest. So it is a good start for him, and it's a good start for Ten Hag, because Fulham didn't create a lot, but you could still see some of the things that were coming in from last season. They could have, if Adama Traore had more than pace, and actually had a football brain, they could have caused them a bit more problems.
I think we'll learn more about United this Saturday when they go to Brighton, because Brighton, we'll speak about them, but that'll be a different kind of game.
Especially because Brighton are at home, and Brighton will speak about it probably, but Brighton were excellent on Saturday against Everton.
Yeah, Danny's right. Mazraoui was probably one of United's best players. He looked a real solid.
Yeah, and especially because he's playing out of position. Like, he played at left back. He's not a left back. He's only there because Luke Shaw has worse legs than I do.
The problem, Mazraoui is very injury prone too, so United will be hoping to keep him fit.
I actually seen too that apparently Chelsea offered United Ben Chilwell, and I was like, "God, that'll be a treatment room." Him and Luke Shaw.
Yeah. So, moving on to the Monday Night Football, Owen. I suppose at halftime, this was a real shock the way it finished. I mean, I don't want to be too biased, but I thought in the first 45 minutes, Spurs played the best football I've seen in any team all weekend. They were very, very good on the ball, opened up Leicester up at will at times, a wee bit wasteful. Didn't get, I mean, even the second half, up until Vardy's goal, I think just before the counter-attack for the goal, I think Alan Smith says Madison and Pedro Porro are leaving players dizzy here. It's all Spurs. The second goal's going to come. And all of a sudden, Leicester had them with a sucker punch. And for 15 minutes after that, Spurs really struggled. And Judy Bentancur allowed them to settle, and Spurs went on the front foot at the end. But a lot of their better players were off, and they didn't really have that sort of cutting edge. They create much more. And Spurs will look back at it as two drop points, whatever way, first game or last game of the season. When you play the way they did in the first half, as Ian said, it feels like a defeat.
And as I messaged you and said, it's just that it was just typical Spurs last season. Dominated teams, had loads of chances, but couldn't get that killer second goal. They killed Leicester off, and as you said, like, you're going to get punished no matter who you play. Because I was watching it and I thought, I have Leicester to get relegated, and it hasn't changed, but because they were very, very bad in that first half. But I'm not going to lie, it's good they have Jamie Vardy back in the league, because he's a bit of a. I
mean, it could have got worse. I mean, he had a big chance they won it just before he come off, and at that stage Spurs were very rocky. I suppose they cut them some slack. I think when you're dominant in the game and you get that sucker punch, you're away from home, the crowd's up against it. They were shell shocked, I think, because they were in such control of the game, and I think it's a learning curve for them young players, that they have to finish teams off. And Dominic Solanke had a mixed night. I think he was good on the ball at times, held the ball up well, got involved, but when it came to putting the ball in the back on net, it didn't quite go for him. He had that one. Probably his first chance was his best chance. He put it straight at the goalkeeper. The other chances were kind of half chances. He looked lively, but he'd be disappointed he didn't make more of those chances.
He looked, but you have to cut him slack too. It's his. I think he only trained 4 days or something. They didn't really get a full week of training with his new team, so it does take a while. They get in with your new teammates. But I thought the bigger chance was the Richarlison one at the end. I thought I know it came at him quick, but I thought he should have done better with it.
I think from a Spurs point of view, there was more positives than negatives. I think the performance was largely good. I think Madison looked back, he's somewhere near his best. I thought he was brilliant, especially in the first half. I think Bergville coming on second half looked like he's going to be pushing for a start very soon. But the one worry, the area that worries you is the wide players. Johnson, very wasteful. Kulusevski, I'm not sure has best positions out there. He probably needs to play where Madison's playing, but Madison you'd think will have to play. So if you're playing Kulusevski on the right, you're not getting the best out of him. Timo Werner come on and was very poor. Richarlison
he's
didn't get much game. He didn't get much chance at that stage, but he's not reliable injury wise either.
and
And
neither's
Son,
Madison either.
yeah, and Son's getting older.
Yeah.
And yes, he can do things, but he had a good chance and he took a poor touch. And
Yeah.
I think Spurs second half were just really rusty. They never really got back into that game, and
I don't know
that's
what
the
it
one
is,
area.
but
Will Spurs be ruthless enough when them chances come?
you have to be in this league. And no, you are playing Everton at home on Saturday, is it? So,
Everton at home, and they've just had a big beating, so you'd think they have to try and respond.
well, they don't, and Everton don't have a right back, I think, because Ashley Young suspended, Seamus Coleman's injured. Surprise, surprise. So they don't really have a right back. So I'd be confident if I was a Spurs fan that you just give Everton a hiding. But I just don't rate your wide players, to be honest. I don't think Brendan Johnson's he's a good impact player off the bench, but I would. He's not a starting right winger.
I've heard this week that Oda Bears look very good in training, but where they throw him on right away. He's come from Burnley. It's a different kettle of fish. And I suppose, and they talk about Leicester. If they play the way they did in the first half, they're not going to be that lucky every week. They're, on an all night, Spurs could have put them chances away, and you would expect that Spurs to put them chances away. And if they play like that, they're going to be really struggling in this league.
Yeah. I was going to say if you're playing a Man City or a Liverpool or Arsenal, you'll get. But even if they're playing like a Brighton, like if they were playing Brighton the way Brighton were playing against Everton, they'd be out of sight. So I think Cooper has a lot of work on his hands. I know he's sort of hamstrung because he can't really get the players in because they're already in trouble with profit and sustainability. Yeah. But I heard before we came on that they're close to signing Ayew from Crystal Palace, so that'll give him a bit more firepower, I guess. But I don't really rate him either, to be honest.
I think he'll need more than that to stay up. Villa get a big one away at West Ham, and I have to say Villa were very impressive on Saturday. I thought that it would have been a travesty, but like the Spurs game, I thought if Villa had drew that game, they'd have been kicking themselves, and they were dominant for most of that game. Onana, who's been criticised by us, got a big goal, was very, very good. And Villa looked very, very good all over the pitch. Probably Watkins was the only one that looked a bit off it, but they showed they've got a great replacement there in Duran to come on and won games for him.
Aye, and it was funny his celebration because he was on Instagram doing this and all because he was close to joining West Ham. So no, Villa played very well, and I was surprised at West Ham's lineup that they didn't put in like your Fulcrooks or your Wan-Bissakas or your Somervilles because they looked disjointed to me in the first half. They didn't really know
what. I suppose it'll take time to get away from that style of play that they played under Moyes, what Lopetegui wants.
But then Lopetegui's not the most attacking-minded manager either, to be honest. You seen him at Wolves, he wasn't the most exciting. So I don't think West Ham will be exciting to watch, but I think they'll finish higher up the table. But in terms of Villa, you know what? I'll hold my hands up. I criticised the Onana signing, and but he did well. He did well on Saturday there.
He very silly at things, but look, it's only one game. We'll have to judge Onana over a lot longer. Owen, Newcastle battled the victory over Southampton. 22% possessions. Russell Martin says it was a criminal that they didn't get at least a point in the game. They missed a lot of chances. Newcastle dug deep.
When I checked, I think they were actually dominant in possession before the 10 men.
Yeah, and Newcastle very, very team. We've seen they're very strong at home. And I see that last season, their home form kind of dragged them up that table because they were poor away from home. And you're never going to get an easy game at Newcastle, are you?
No, the only team under Eddie Howe that they haven't beat at St James's is Liverpool, surprisingly.
Yeah, it was funny because they played against the 10 men early last season and they were sucker punched. Yeah. And it kind of went the other way this time where Southampton probably feel they should have got at least 1 point, if not 3.
Although Brereton Diaz should be going for the Oscars. He should be up for an Oscar now this weekend.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
That was embarrassing. I can see why it was a red card because they both put their heads in, and then Brereton Diaz just collapsed as if he went 12 rounds with Tyson Fury. But no, it was embarrassing, wasn't it? It was not great for your first Premier League appearance, like for Southampton. But in terms of the game, I think Southampton can take a lot of credit out of it because, as they said, as you said there, they dominated the ball. They had their chances. They had the ball in the net that was rolled out for a rightly offside decision. We'll discuss another decision that wasn't right. But no, in terms a good start for Newcastle, but promising signs for Southampton too.
Yep. One way off the older hands up, we all got this wrong. We all fancied
Mhm.
Everton. They have too much noise for Brighton, but it went the other way, and Brighton showed why they're such a good team. Things don't change there. They play the same attacking football no matter who the manager is. I suppose the foundations are in place. They've been in place for a long time, and they look
Yeah,
really impressive, and they've made some great signings in this window as well.
yeah. I obviously I didn't watch this game, but I seen highlights. And your man Manta looked before he went off with his concussion. He looked really good, and I think Newcastle could regret selling him, maybe.
They were forced on
Because
to selling him, weren't they? But they had to. I think Eddie Howe said that they sold players they didn't have money necessarily to sell.
yeah, well, should have sold Gordon, but well, but no, I think as you said, it doesn't really change at Brighton, no matter who the manager is. They always play progressive football, and I actually thought Matoma was back to his best because he had a rough season last year with injuries and that. And Danny Welbeck, evergreen, hasn't he? I think he scored in the last what was it 10, 15 Premier League seasons. He's got a goal, and then my old boy James Milner still going at the old ripe age of 37 now. So you know what?
I mean, this is going to be a real test for United on Saturday because Brighton's going to come out all guns blazing.
Aye, so I think it could be an exciting half 12 game, one that I won't be complaining about for once. But no, I think, and in terms of Everton, it's like it was just the same old, wasn't it? They didn't take their chances, and I know there was a penalty that they weren't happy about, but for me, I think the right
I
decision
think
was
I got that
made.
right. I think I got that
No,
right as
I
well. I
agree.
suppose the worry for Everton is that, you know, they unravelled completely. I mean, it was they were what they Tony had been 4-0 at the end, and
Yeah,
Brighton were ripping through them. And suppose if you watch the first half of the Spurs game, you're thinking, geez, we're going there this weekend and Spurs will have a point to prove after dropping 2 points. You seen the players saying that they were angry they didn't win the game. So at
yeah,
home you'd fancy them to come out again and Spurs be looking they put the Leicester result right, and that's worrying for Everton. And they've, you say, no right back, and there's been a lot of speculation about players there, and I think the players
like
they've brought on probably aren't as good as the ones that they've. No, we never whatever we say about Onana, I think he's one of Everton's best players.
I think they've brought on your man Lundstrom from Napoli. Haven't seen much of him. They brought on your boy from Marseille, who used to play for Sheffield
O'Brien.
United. I haven't seen much of him, and obviously they brought on Jake O'Brien from Leon. I've watched a bit of him just because Irish bias. You want to see him. United will set up. No, here we go.
City player
Um,
man.
he's but I don't know what it is with Everton. Like they're always a bad result away, as I said last season and I didn't put them near the relegation zone. Like I put them, I think 16th, 15th. But if it goes badly wrong, they could be down there. And it's their last season at Goodison Park, and they don't want it to end in a relegation because that would be catastrophic.
If there's any Everton fans watching, don't be worrying. They've lost their last 4 opening day games at home, so maybe there's something on that. Maybe they just are slow starters. I don't know.
Because they
Oh, you
ended
mentioned it.
they
Sorry,
ended
go ahead.
last season with six ones on a roll.
Yeah, VAR drama at Brentford. As they won 2-1 against Palace. Of course, Barry Etieza had a goal disallowed. The referee admitted his mistake. Very young referee. It's his first season as a full time Premier League referee. He has ref Premier League games before, but he's going to be doing a lot more this year. And I couldn't get off to a worse start for him. And fair play
No,
to him. He says to the manager after the game he got it wrong, and suppose he held his hands up. He made a mistake, and
that
I
doesn't
don't want
help
to hammer
Palace.
the young referee because I mean a referee myself, and you know once you make a mistake like that, the only thing you can do is hold your hands up and you
Yeah.
take it as a learning curve.
Aye, but as you say, apologise, fair play to him, but it doesn't give Palace an extra point. That could be a vital point coming the end of the season. But in terms of the game, we all thought because Tony wasn't playing that it would be tough for Brentford. Now he's back in training this week, just in time for Sunday, and so that's wonderful.
I can't see him playing. I think he's on the move.
Nah, over to get the bag in Saudi Arabia. But
Possibly.
no, I thought it was a weird game because I thought Palace started the game brilliantly. Brentford couldn't get out. Brentford couldn't get at them, and then after that disallowed goal, then Brentford just took control. That I think the finish from Mbemo was very good. like I really like him. Buemo as a player, he'd be a
I
player
think
that.
Spurs should have been looking at him.
No, I agree. I'm saying too. If Salah is to leave next summer, I wouldn't complain if he was the replacement. We seem to have a good relationship with Brentford. So we
Yeah,
sold
they're helping
Carvalho.
these out. They're helping these out big time at the moment, Brentford.
We got 27 million off him for Carvalho. And we're getting 25 for Sepp van den Berg. So I'm a big fan of Brentford at the minute. Well, until Sunday anyway. But no, and we all thought, well, you have Brentford down, and you have Brentford down as your one of your teams to go down. Does your opinion change
Early,
after?
early, early days, early days. I think they're going to rely heavily on Mbeumo and Vassari score goals.
Well, they're coming. They're going to Anfield at the weekend, and I'm not
I
being
think it
biased,
could
but
be
I
a
don't.
reality check for them on Sunday. I think they got a good one,
I don't
obviously, and I
expect
think
them.
Brentford will not be too bothered about Anfield. I think if they lose there, it's the games against Palace at home.
Uh,
They're a very strong home team. That they if they get enough points at home, they'll be okay. But don't know.
and
I
I
think
also,
Tony could go and could be a big blow.
and I think will be, and they've already bought a replacement, but he's out till
Igor.
Christmas. I think he's out till Christmas, or if not longer. And in terms of Palace, too, it looks like they're going to keep Mark Gahey,
I
which is
think
good.
if they can keep Gehi and Eza by next Friday night, that's a result for them.
And because I think they sold Anderson back to Fulham today, didn't they? I think that's been done. So I don't think they'll want to lose two centre backs in the
I'm
one Monday.
surprised though that they've rejected this money for Gehi. I think they were holding out for somewhere near 70, and they got 65. I think that was good fee for Gehi, and I think
Uh,
they possibly could have sold up. And yes,
so
Gehi's an important player for them, but I think if
he's
they were
not
to
a.
keep Eza, I think Eza would be the one they want to keep.
Do you think anyone will come on for Eze in the last 10, 9 days?
Can't see it now. I think you looking around the league. I think everyone's made their moves. Never say never, of course, but
Well, not everyone.
not everyone. Maybe Liverpool, but I don't think so. I think they're covered in that area. And finally, Owen, Forest and Bournemouth share the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Um,
This game sort of got lost a bit, didn't it, because of what happened?
yeah,
The end.
the injury. And obviously there was a disallowed goal in that game too. The referees got right. So I think all in all it was a decent weekend for the referees. Only that one error out of the 10 games. I think they got everything else spot on. And I think the new handball thing's definitely working. We're not seeing
Yeah,
any
like,
crazy decisions.
I
Obviously there'll
thought there
be
was I thought there was automated offsides, or is that not coming on yet?
not until after the second international break, I believe.
I don't see the point in that.
Apparently they have to trial it. I don't know, but I
Well, they
mean,
trial VAR for a year, and that still doesn't work properly. So,
a decent point for Bournemouth was away from home after losing Solanke and Forest. Yet they'll be disappointed at home. They didn't make 3 points, but I think it was both important for these teams that they at least got something on the opening weekend.
I think we all predicted a draw, didn't we, last time we were on? I can't remember, but
I definitely know it's Forest 2-1, but could be
uh,
wrong.
but it's for these teams who are going to be sort of between mid table and bottom half. It's important that they lose your first game. So I think both managers will be happy with a point. And as I said there, I just want to say I hope Danilo's all right, because it looked like a nasty injury there. I think Nuno came out and said he broke his ankle, so his season's done after one game, which wasn't good.
Yeah. Owen, biggest winners and biggest losers from the opening weekend. Who do you think? I mean, I'll go first. I think Spurs are the biggest losers. I think criminal that they didn't get the 3 points. And I'd stick with Leicester probably being the biggest winners, because at half time you wouldn't. I mean, you were thinking this was going to be 2-3-4.
Yeah.
Possibly Chelsea being losers as well. Man City with a good one away at a big club. I don't know. How do you see it?
I'm gonna say biggest losers. I'm gonna say Everton, just because of how badly they were beaten, and
Yes.
uh, and I'm gonna stick with Leicester as winners, because nobody in their right mind put Leicester to get a result there. So I'm gonna say Everton and Leicester.
Um, Owen, let's move on and talk about the transfer window. Before I come off, we'll have a quick look ahead to the weekend's game, so do stay with us for that.
Liverpool should have signed bloody Andre Wisdom at centre back at this point.
Lots of course big news here in Derry today. Of course, signing former Liverpool player Andre Wisdom on a free transfer. Owen, news in the last few hours: Chelsea have completed the signing of João Felix, somewhere in the region of £50 million. As we said at the top of the show, this wasn't their first choice target, and I
Does he
believe
does
he
he
did
play
this
up
so
front?
that he
Like
could
if
shift
if
Gallagher.
if Osimhen comes in, where does he play? Because he's not getting in over Palmer. He's not going to get in over Nkunku. I don't know. It's just, and he's not going to play on the
Basically, from
wing.
what I've gathered, they basically paid Atletico Madrid £20 million to take Conor Gallagher off him. That seems bizarre when you think about it.
It's and we spoke about it there, but I think that's part of the reason why Pochettino was sacked or walked because he apparently he said to the owners, "I want Chalba and Gallagher as part of my plans next season," and the owner said, "Nope."
Yeah, I think Gallagher's a huge loss for them. Owen, you've waited 3 months possibly, but I don't think you might have to wait much longer for a Liverpool new signing, although you might not see him the next year, but he will be a Liverpool player. We probably hear in the next 20, 40, 48 hours.
So next
Um,
season he'll be crying about Allison leaving, but this boy coming in.
yeah, Liverpool close to signing new goalkeeper, the Georgian goalkeeper coming from Valencia, Mirosavilia, is it?
Mama Dash Volley is how I.
Mamardashvili, yeah, Mamardashvili. Round about €40 million, about 35 million, possibly going on loan to Bournemouth. We're hearing, but
No, he's staying up. That's how we got the fee. He's not going on loan to Bournemouth now. He's just staying on loan at Valencia for the season.
yeah, your thoughts on this one? Suppose
I
it's not the
mean,
signing you wanted, but you have to start somewhere, don't you?
sure. It's at least I can say we haven't signed anyone. No, but it's sort of in a good way because obviously you don't want to lose Allison. In my opinion, he's best keeper in the world, top two anyway. But that this would suggest to me that Allison's off next summer because you don't sign a keeper like this who's very highly rated. I was listening to one of the Liverpool channels today who had a Spanish expert on and said he's according to him. I haven't watched much of him to be fair, but according to him, he's very close to Jan Oblak. So if that's if that's the praise that he's getting, because
They're not going to just keep loaning them out and loaning them out. You would imagine this is going to be for 1 year only, and he comes on.
I would say Allison's off the I don't know Saudi probably next summer, and then Kelleher will leave. I would
Body
imagine.
blow for Gallagher, isn't it? He'd been thinking maybe when Allison goes, I'll get a chance, but doesn't look like it's going to work out that way.
It looks like he's. I don't know if he'll be shipped this summer. I don't think Liverpool want at least 25 million. I don't know if anyone's going to pay that. His contract expires in 2026, so realistically, it's either this summer or next summer we're going to get money for him. So, but
Mm.
for Kelleher, I think he just needs to go now and get first team football because if Mohamed Ashvili is coming in, it's not going to happen at Liverpool, unfortunately.
Yeah, more positive news for you on that Fabrizio Romano has says Liverpool are going to be very active in the final week. Now, sometimes this infuriates fans. What does very active mean?
That could
Possibly
be
exploring the market in the hope that something comes up or there's a domino effect. But have you lost hope of any real sort of statement signing coming on before next week?
At the minute, I'm 50-50 just because we have to do something. Like we can't be the only team in the league not to sign someone. I know we're going to sign Tom, but I mean for now, I I have a feeling we're going to sign a centre back regardless of what happens because we're leaving ourselves short anyway. Because we don't have Matip anymore. We've sold Van den Berg to Brentford or Leverkusen. Don't know whoever he goes to. And we've sold we like our centre backs now are Van Dijk, Kwanzaa, who Slot obviously doesn't fancy it seems. So we have Van Dijk, Kwanzaa, Kanate, Gomez, and Nathaniel Phillips, who's never going to play. So if Gomez stays, I'm happy enough. But when I think I have a feeling we'll get someone on the door in the
Newcastle
last.
said to be looking elsewhere. Maybe they could come back in for Gomez, but I think if they do, Liverpool might keep saying someone else to them. Might be saying, "Look, only way this is working is if we take your boy Gordon." But that'll be interesting. I think there's definitely possibly something that could happen with Gordon in the last week of the window, but it's just how much Liverpool are prepared to pay because I think now moving into this stage of the window, I think teams' best players that they don't want to sell and they're going to add on money. It's going to have to be an offer they can't refuse, and I'm not
That's what
sure
I don't
Liverpool are
get.
going to get the 80, 90 million they for Gordon.
That's what I don't get though from Liverpool because we've made about 80-90 million in this window and we're still selling players. We're not buying anyone. I don't understand what's going on. We've sold Bobby Clark as well. They Salzburg for 10 million. We're selling youngsters. I don't understand what's going on at the minute, to be honest. But to be fair to Richard Hughes, as much as I battered him last week, they get 27 million for Carvalho and 25 million for Sepp van den Berg, who's never really kicked the ball for us. That's not bad business.
Yeah, well, suppose if the goalkeeper comes in, it's going to take some of that Kelly out, doesn't it? So I'm not
Uh,
sure what they'll do, but I think the problem Liverpool have is they don't only they only want to sign a player that improves them, and I think they're a very good side, and it's difficult to find that player that they believe in. But look, who knows? In the final week of the window, strange things can happen. Now a deal
We'll sign Arthur Melo on loan again.
now a deal that was says to be off that could be resurfacing again is Man United's pursuit of Manuel Ugarte of PSG. We're hearing in the last 24 hours that United feel confident they can get this one done somewhere in the region of 40 to 15 million euros.
I heard it's a lonely obligation to buy.
Well, there's a possibility that they could do it with a loan with obligation to buy, but at the moment they are still exploring the permanent deal. PSG would prefer a permanent deal, but we'll have to see on that one. But he would be a decent signing for United because they're light in that area.
He's one of these players who I haven't watched much of, but he's apparently from what he's not very progressive. He's a destroyer in the midfield is what Man United need because who do they have in that area? Really, they have Casemiro who's lost his legs, and they have Scott McTominay who they're actively trying to sell, and it doesn't
I
look
think
like
that bird's flew now as well because Fulham have signed Sander Berg. So
who United were also looking at, but no, it'll be a very decent signing for United because he's an upgrade on what they have like, and as you say, they're very light in that area. But whether it turns them on the top four contenders or not, we'll see. But I think he's gonna improve them, no doubt.
yeah, news today: Man United or Man City have agreed a deal to re-sign AK Gundogan. Of course, he was instrumental in winning those titles for them, especially in the back end of the season. Scored some important goals. Of course, scored 2 goals in the FA Cup. Finally beat Man United the year before last. On a free transfer as well. This is a pick me on that. I mean, they've he's wanted to leave Barcelona. They've managed to get a free transfer. Barcelona have to shift him. I suppose he improves their squad.
I like whether he comes back and is an automatic starter again is a different thing, but he's a great option to have. Like he's as much as I don't like Man City, Gundogan's a player that I've always had a soft spot for. I think he's a very good player, and they go back to Man City, like they're going to challenge on all fronts. So he's not going to a bad environment. I also heard today, speaking of Barcelona, they've signed Federico Chiesa from Barcelona or from Juventus. Sorry, so that's another one. Barcelona remind me of Chelsea a lot. I don't know where they get this money from,
I think
but
he is the best days are behind him. But
uh, and but for City, I think for Gundogan, it's weird they say it's a new signing because he was only there a year ago, if you know what I mean. So not much has changed since he's been there last. So he'll obviously be an improvement. Their squad.
yeah, now a player that's dominated the summer transfer market. He's been linked with a lot of clubs as Eddie and Keria, and we're hearing that he may finally get his move away from Arsenal. Arsenal and Forest close to agreeing a fee of 30 million for Eddie and Keria. Stefan says Arsenal will hold out until they get the right price. I think it's a good deal for both clubs. Forest need a striker, and 30 million for Arsenal, I suppose, is decent money for a player they don't really see as part of their plans.
D Forest need a striker. Chris Wood is a very proven Premier League striker. So
I think they're looking for somebody a bit younger, more for the future. Eddie's 24. Has a bit of Premier League pedigree. I think he's struggled at Arsenal, but Forest is more probably where he's at.
It's a good move for him because he's going to go and you would assume if they're paying a big fee for him, which 30 million, I don't know, but he's it's a good move for Forest because, as you say, as much as he struggled at Arsenal, you've seen players. Excuse me, you've seen players struggle at bigger teams and go to other teams and do better. So I think it's a good deal for him, and it's a brilliant deal for Arsenal.
Yeah, and we're here. Once this deal's agreed, Arsenal will finalise the transfer of Mikel Merino somewhere in the region of 40 million euros. So Arsenal paying quite a fee for this Merino as well. Sociedad, as Liverpool found out, do not negotiate, and they've held the Arsenal this long. And they says, look, we don't care if he's out of contract next year. If you want him now, you're going to pay what we want, and what he wants 40 million euros. And suppose it changes the concept of this transfer because I think at the start people thought they would get him for 20, 25, going a wee bit further, and he's 28, done well at Sociedad, but is he better than what Arsenal have? I'm not sure.
No, I don't. But then again, sometimes it's not about. Sometimes it's not about what who's better than what you have. Sometimes it's just adding better depth to what you have because what they have. Who do they have? They have Partey, Rice, Jorginho in that area. So I don't think, and they've that boy Fabio Vieira who hasn't pulled up any trees since he's been there. So I think this could be a shrewd signing for Arsenal. Whether he starts week in week out, I don't know. We've seen him in the Premier League before. We struggle in Newcastle side, so it'll be interesting to see when he comes to the Premier League with a team that's going to be challenging for the Premier League.
Yeah, it was a very strange Monday for Oliver Skip. Of course, was a Spurs player on Monday morning, and then found himself sitting in the Leicester dugout, just behind the dugout on Monday night against his old club. Probably a very awkward situation for him. I don't know why they couldn't have done it the next day. But Skip, as a Leicester player, Spurs getting somewhere in the region of 20 or 25 million for Oliver Skip. Rumours it was 25, rumours it was 30. Either way, I think that's good money for Spurs.
Yeah.
Leicester, we know we're struggling, but do you think this is the wisest move of money? I mean, I don't know if he's better than what they have. I know they're short, but I think Spurs will be laughing all the way to the bank with this money.
I think Leicester could have spent their money a bit more wisely, to be honest. You'll know better than me. You've watched a lot of more of them than I do,
But
but
I've said as well, I think Spurs have had a really good window of selling. I think they've done quite well. They shift a lot of players that weren't part of the future, and they've got decent fees for some of them.
sort of similar to Liverpool, but only we haven't spent any money of it out yet. But for Skip, I think it's a good move for him. Like he'll know people there. He'll know Harry Winks. He'll probably know Connor Cody from England. So I think for him, he just needed to go. It's similar to Eddie Nketiah, isn't it? He's not good enough for a top four, top six challenging team, but for a team that's going to be hoping they stay in the league, I think because he does have experience too. Like so, I think it could be a good move for him.
Yeah, and we're hearing that Spurs may have one more big money move on them, and they're possibly targeting João Gomez of Wolves. Owen, hearing somewhere in the region of 50 million will get this deal done. Spurs exploring this. It could happen very late in the window, but I think this would be the best bit of business they've done all summer. I think this is a real talent. 23 Premier League experience, Portuguese international, has been brilliant for Wolves. And Spurs do have a gaping hole in that number 6 area, and he would be a real good signing, I think, for Spurs if we can get this one done.
I agree. He's one that I've said a lot of times that I would like him at Liverpool, and I don't know why we haven't gone on because we do have a good relationship with Wolves. But for Spurs, I think what you have Basuma and Bentancur's Basuma's too busy off inhaling balloons.
And the curse, whatever happened, I mean, he's not enjoyed his trips to the King Power. He's done his ACL and then he's had a head injury, and we're hearing
Aye.
he could be out for a few weeks. So again, they're a bit light in that area. Do they have to? I mean, do they bring Basuma back in this weekend? Now, of course, they wouldn't have expected Bentancur to have that head injury, or does Aaron do something crazy and go for 3 attacking midfielders? You wouldn't know him, but
No, this year will be
I
if,
think it's
if
I think it's very, very coincidental that all of a sudden Tuesday morning Spurs were up on their antics for Gomez. They're probably trying to get him on maybe sooner rather than
yeah.
later. But we're hearing that Leicester Wolves are playing hardball and they won't budge on their 50 million valuation. So it could run on, and we know Spurs like to negotiate, don't they?
Daniel Levy's he's not a man that I would like to get a £5 note off, let alone £50 million. But I think for this one it'll be a great move for Spurs, and this is why I think Wolves could be in trouble this season because if they lose him along with losing Neto, uh, I don't
I
see.
think as well that the problem that Wolves, I think Yarno's already said this, that if good offers come on for their players, they will accept them because of their financial situation.
And that's why I think that's why I've put them in my relegated teams for the season because I think, as you said there, they'll if they do lose Gomez, they've already lost Neto. I think they might be losing Cunha as well. So
I think if Spurs sign João Gomez, there'll still be some unhappy Spurs fans, but I think that would be a very, very promising window. I think you
I
couldn't have
agree.
asked for much more than that. If you get your CDM, you get your striker. Of course, there was a couple of other players have come on that maybe Spurs players wanted an Eze or a Pedro Neto, but I think João Gomez is more important at the moment.
Yeah.
I know we've had problems in wide areas, but I think that midfield area, as you've seen the other night for that Vardy chance, they were cut through in that counter attack, and against better teams, that's where they're going to be tested. But Owen, before we go, we're going to look ahead to this weekend's fixtures. We'll do quick predictions on them. Of course, we'll go into these games in more detail on Friday night. But it all starts on Saturday at 12:30. Brighton take on Manchester United. Many people have Brighton as favourites because of how they played last week. And I think it's a very close one, but how do you see it going?
I think just because Brighton are at home, I think they'll get a point at least. I'm gonna go 1-1.
1-1. I'm going to say Brighton are going to win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Brighton one.
Danny will not
Palace
be
West
Danny will not be
Palace
happy.
no, Palace West Ham 3 o'clock.
Well, both teams need to get their first one. I'm gonna go West Ham
I'll go
2-1.
for a draw. I'll go for a 1-1 draw.
Mm.
Fulham against Leicester. I think Fulham after last week they'll be looking at that Leicester game and thinking great opportunity for 3 points.
I'm gonna go 2-0 Fulham.
I'll go the same 2-0 Fulham. Man City against Ipswich. It's been a real baptism of fire for Ipswich to get them 2 games to start.
I'm gonna go 4-0 Man City.
I'll go 3-0 Man City. Southampton, Nottingham Forest.
Yes. I'm gonna go 1-1.
I'll go the same 1-1 draw. Spurs against Everton.
3-0 Spurs.
I'll go 3-1 Spurs. Aston Villa against Arsenal's a 5:30 game. Very good game.
Aye. I think this will be tight, but I'm gonna go for the Gunners. I'm gonna go 2-1 Arsenal.
I'm going to go 1-1. Moving on to Sunday. Bank holiday Sunday, of course, this weekend. Bournemouth taking on Newcastle in the early kickoff on Sky.
3-1 Newcastle.
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Wolves and Chelsea was moved from Saturday to Sunday due to Chelsea's participation in Europe. They'll play in the playoffs this week of the Conference League, playing Servette.
Did you see Chelsea are playing the losers of that game because Servette played Braga and lost, so Chelsea are playing Servette. I don't know how that works.
And Wolves Chelsea. Wolves Chelsea.
I'm gonna go 1-1. I don't know.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Wolves. Final game of the weekend: Liverpool against Brentford, a 4:30 kickoff on Sky.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1. I'm gonna go. I think you might be far away. I'm gonna go 3-1 as well. Well, that takes us up to the end of the show. Brilliant having you on again. Really good insight as usual. Lots to talk about. Of course, we will be back on Friday. And I think maybe next week, depending on how crazy the transfer business is, we might do an extra show on the Friday night for the transfer deadline. We'll just have to see what's happening. We were planning to do this last year, but I think it all died. Died down the last day. So if it is a bit of a manic, if it is a manic transfer deadline, and I have to say, I think it's more likely this year it is manic than it was last year because I think Liverpool are looking to do business. Spurs are looking to do business. United are looking to do business. Chelsea, I think they would do business with anybody at the moment. I think Man City could possibly be looking at somebody as well. I think they haven't strengthened that much. Arsenal, of course, I think if a striker becomes available, they might act. So I think there's a lot of teams that'll be looking to do business.
I'm surprised.
Great WS.
I'm surprised Arsenal haven't gone on for Tony.
Who knows? They might, if Brentford's willing to do business on a cut price, maybe they'll go on. But I don't know. I think they're happy with Havertz at the moment.
Yeah. But
that's all to be discussed next week. But thanks. If you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. We'll be back very soon. Owen, top man.
Cheers, lad.